Hello, hello. Welcome to Courage Becomes Her, where we connect and share real life stories. I'll talk with women whom I love and am inspired by, women who are experiencing life just like you and me. I'm excited for us to gather together and cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in life and work. Well, hello, friends. Okay, I realized that I have to do one more episode for Stewarding Ourselves Well. So this is your bonus episode because I cannot do this whole series without talking about how we grow intellectually, specifically through the practice and the discipline of reading. For those of you who have been with Courage Becomes Her since our initial episode 3.5-ish months ago, you know that I love to read. Reading is a big part of my life and an important part of my life. And so I just want to officially close out the Stewarding Ourselves Well series by talking about why I read, what I read, and when and where I read. And at the end, I have a fun treat and exciting giveaway for you. So let's just talk a little bit about reading. So why I read. So I think reading for me has transformed over the years. Obviously, with having a PhD and an MBA and a bachelor's degree, there's definitely been seasons where reading is very academically focused and is all about, actual expansion of knowledge, that sort of thing, learning, growing, and that always is an important part for me. But I think there are really 3 reasons why I read now that has transformed over the years for me. The first one is an opportunity to engage with others and engage in culture and to be able to learn from others and what they're experiencing and what they're going through. And particularly as a coach, that is obviously helpful for me to be able to kind of keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on in culture. A second thing is to be challenged, to have an opportunity to kind of going back to that growth perspective, to be able to see and experience through other people's writings, what are those areas that maybe my thinking needs some challenge on and where I could grow and could develop. The third area for me, which really is honestly the most important part to me, is that I want life breathed into me. And for me, reading does that. It helps me to, just have life-giving awarenesses, experiences through the writings of others. And I really, truly do read because life is breathed into me through the act, the practice, the discipline, the habit of reading. So what do I read? Because of why I read, the 3 top reasons that I just gave you of why I read, I'm pretty picky about what I read. I don't want to be wasting my time on something that doesn't bring me life. So I definitely am pretty picky. I will tell you that I put down a book if it's not something that is starting to breathe life into me or that I feel engaged with or challenged by within the first, usually chapter or 2. And I know that's from other people who are significant readers. That's definitely a practice as well. Do not make yourself feel obligated to finish something if it's not breathing life into you, not challenging you, not engaging you in a way that is meaningful for you. I will tell you that over the last 2 years in particular, that I've eliminated a lot of the books that I previously would have read or types of books. So things that are just one more person's opinion, one more roadmap to success, one more list of things that I have to incorporate into my life, one more way of hustling or being productive. I've eliminated the vast majority of books that fit into that. It's just exhausting to me. It is not something that breathes life into me. And because I want to read things that are life-giving and breathing life into me, those are no longer a part of my regular habit of reading. I read what causes my heart to feel alive and to be alive. So, when and where I read. So I am extremely intentional about making time for reading. I make a choice to read instead of watching a show. I often will prioritize reading over responding to emails. Yes, I know there are some of you who are listening whom I probably have not responded to an email from you. I'm sorry, but I do often prioritize reading over productive things, quote unquote, productive things, like emails, definitely watching a show. I would rather cook something that takes less time in order to give myself time to read, etc., etc. I read both at the start of my day and at the end of my day. So I really bookend my days with my reading. And I make it a point to just make myself cozy, if you will, for my reading. So I often am drinking my caffeinated tea in the morning when I'm reading, and my decaffeinated tea while I'm reading in the evening, and just use that as an opportunity to just relax and to settle in and to get cozy and to enjoy what I'm reading. So I hope that is helpful and inspiring to you. One of my big things that I do every year and quarterly is to share the books that I'm reading. So if you're not already on my email list, I'll put a link here in the show notes so that you can join me and be an email friend so that you can get those lists. But one of the reasons that I do share those lists is because I really want others to experience growth and have life breathed into you through reading like it does for me. So I'm going to share with you the 8 best books that I read in 2022. In 2022, I read 61 books, and that's more than what I usually do. But I just had so many awesome books. I just kept going. But first I'll tell you that list of the 61 books, I'll link it in the show notes, or it's linked in the show notes so that you can look at the entire list. But what I want to share with you right now are the 8 books out of those 61 that I would highly encourage you to consider reading. Every single one of these books are books that I will reread again. Some of them are ones that in 2022 I actually did, they were a reread from previous years. So I want to share each of them with you, each of the 8 super quickly. So in the order that I read them, so not in the order of like what's my favorite or something like that, but in the order that I read them in 2022. The first one is Scary Close by Donald Miller. So in Scary Close, Donald says, "We will never feel loved until we drop the act, until we're willing to show our true selves to the people around us." So this book is really just this unpacking of how we are desperate for love and friendship, and having that be meaningful and in a lasting way. And that based on that, we need to discover who we really are and to live authentically. That love and friendship are birthed out of authenticity and finding who we are. He shares his own personal struggles, and that really opens a door, I believe, for us to talk openly about our insecurities, our fears, our doubts, and to, as he says, drop the act, to stop pretending. So that's the first one, Scary Close by Donald Miller. The second one is Bonhoeffer. This is a biography of Dietrich Bonhoeffer by Eric Metaxas. Absolutely phenomenal book. So at the age of 39, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a German citizen from a prominent German family, was murdered by Adolf Hitler because he valued human life and human dignity for all people, including the Jews and others whom Hitler was just adamant to exterminate. So this biography, just absolutely eye-opening and so incredible. I learned so much, including how many numbers of Jews had actually, how many numbers of Germans had actually opposed Hitler's ideology and actions, and that many of whom, like Bonhoeffer, were killed because of their opposition. So absolutely phenomenal book if you have any interest whatsoever in World War II and just all that transpired from that. So Bonhoeffer by Eric Metaxas. The third one is So Long, Insecurity, You've Been a Bad Friend to Us by Beth Moore. So one of the big things that I've been focusing on in coaching over the last year and a half is just insecurities, fears, and doubts. And those are such prevalent issues today. And Beth Moore totally unpacks with incredible wisdom and transparency the ideas and the issues of insecurity. She talks about how we need our dignity back and how to actually make that a reality. It is a deeply comforting and soothing book and so incredibly helpful on this topic. So Long, Insecurity by Beth Moore. Number 4, The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. So I've read pretty much most of Brené's books, and this one, honestly, after I think it was published 10 years ago, is still my favorite. It was birthed out of a season of pain in her life and is just really chock full of good, simple, practical insights. It's, like I said, it is my favorite of hers, and one that I reread regularly. Even like I said, it came out 10 years ago and I've read it multiple times. Number 5, I Guess I Haven't Learned That Yet by Shauna Niequist. So I think we've all heard kind of the terms deconstructing, reconstructing, reawakening, kind of words that have come into culture pretty predominantly over the last couple of years. But I really love how Shauna just works through those topics and talks about it from her own perspective and gives examples in her own life in a way that is incredibly soothing, incredibly comforting, incredibly calming, and helps us to see that this journey of change and transition and transformation that so many of us are on in one way or another is something to not be ashamed of, but to approach it from the standpoint of, I'm still learning, I'm still growing. This is a phenomenal book that literally the minute that I stopped or finished it, I started rereading it again. So I Guess I Haven't Learned That Yet from Shauna Niequist. So the next one, number 6, is Encounters with Jesus by Tim Keller. Tim Keller is honestly one of my all-time favorite authors. I read pretty much everything of his and am always just blown away by the depth of research, the insights that he shares. So this one in particular is rich vignettes of the life of Jesus Christ and interactions that he had with specific people like the marginalized, the wealthy, the religious. And Tim Keller uses those vignettes to really dig into questions that nag and trouble us, like, am I loved? Am I forgiven? Does my life matter? What is evil? Why is there suffering? So truly a very thoughtful book with, I believe, solid answers that bring a sense of peace, comfort, gratitude. Okay, number 7, What If It's Wonderful? So in episode 14, I had Nicole Zazowski on as a guest, and she is the author of What If It's Wonderful? And for those of you who listened to that episode, you'll know that I read a quote from her that I want to read again. She says, "The present moment is worthy, even if we have nothing to show for it. no check marks by the items on our to-do list, no additional money in our bank account, and no emails cleared from our inbox. And her whole point of this book is just really looking at the areas in our life that we need to be reminded that we're valuable regardless of what is going on, and that we can have joy and we can have wonder even when there's other stuff happening in our life, even when there's chaos, even when there's a lack of just goodness in the moments of our lives. And I'm still like absorbing all of the wisdom and the insights from this book, and definitely is one that I will read again. Last but not least, number 8, Hidden Christmas by Tim Keller. Again, I just said he's one of my favorite authors, so no surprise that 2 of the 8 are his books. But Hidden Christmas, this book was given to me a few years ago. I was burnt out, disappointed by Christmas. It honestly had turned into a season of sadness rather than the joy-filled time that it was really intended to be. And I've read this book every Christmas for the past 4 years. And each time that I have, it helps me to rediscover joy, learn something new about the season of hope, and to bring meaning back to Christmas for me. So again, those are the 8 that I would say are my highly recommends out of the 2022 reading list. And I would love to be able to give one of you all 8 of those books. So there's a link in the show notes to enter to win these 8 books through the Instagram post on my Instagram. So you can either click on the link through the show notes or just go to Instagram and to Laurel Emery to enter to win a set of these 8 books. So, wow. Thank you so much for joining me for this series of Stewarding Ourselves Well. It has just been so rich and beautiful, and we've had some super fun, enjoyable laughter, creating conversations and moments, and some just really heavy hitters that are all about nurturing our souls. And I'm just so grateful that you have been along in this series, and for the feedback and the comments and the engagement. I'm truly, truly grateful that you are a part of the Courage Becomes Her community. And I'm thankful that you are learning and growing right alongside me, and that you are sharing these episodes with other women in your life who you know will be encouraged and inspired by one of these stories, or hearing from one of these women. So thank you so much, and look forward to next week kicking off our Taking a Leap of Faith series. So thanks so much in advance for joining us for that new series. What an honor to help you to cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in your life and work. Thank you so much for inviting me to journey with you. I look forward to being back with you next week, where we'll hear another story from a woman whom I love and am inspired by and look forward to learning from.